glad you could make it today. Today we're going to start out 31 things you can be successful at in a year. It doesn't really matter when you start, except for if you start at the end of December. Then shoot for the following year. Right now, it's January, right at the end. And you'd think, why would you start gardening in January, and especially at the end? Well, this is the time to prepare. So I'm here to help you understand what you might need to prepare. Not a full garden, but maybe just some vegetables or some flowers or a few fruits that you might like to try as the days get warmer. Because here's a surprise most of you don't know. Since the winter solstice, every day we get a little bit more sunlight and we get a little warmer. The first thing you'll need to find, and I'll provide it for you, is this zoning map. You're going to need to know where you are in the zones and if it's okay to plant a certain plant, vegetable, fruit, tree, anything, where you live. I can give props out to Gurney's. After looking through all of my seed catalogs, they were the only one who had one that was that easy, that handy, right here on your order envelope. And that was a smart thing. You're going to need to find where you are. Why? Because it gets warm at different times. Different soils are available to you, and before too much craziness in the weather, you could almost predict a little bit better how much rain you would get. I want to talk to you about different seeds, because you're going to have to understand the type of seed that's out there available to you, because even if you go to, say, your local hardware store, even your grocery store, they're all starting to put out seed displays. And you're going to look at this beautiful set and you'll say, wow, I don't even know what to pick. Yeah, I want carrots. Yeah, I want tomatoes. But you might not be too sure what you're going to get. And I don't want you to be too disappointed. Let's say you're really interested in only putting the very best inside of your body. If you've already gone to the fact that you're thinking, hey, I think I'd like to have a garden of my own, that's a great place to start. But what do the seed varieties mean? Let's just go over a few. There are a few more than what I'm going to show you, but basically this is what you'll be looking for. When you see something that says it's hybridized, so here my shallot seeds are hybridized. That means that people have taken the time to work with science and with efforts to make them less likely that a bug will be there bothering it. It will make it more hardy, less likely to wilt if you have problems with rain or, you forgot to water today. So a hybridization does change the plant itself. It doesn't allow for seeds to be saved from your plant as a germinating seed. You may get seeds, but they won't produce a plant that you can eat or that will have no fruit at all. So it's important to know, if you pick the hybridized one, you may be avoiding early wilt, and you may be avoiding certain diseases, and certainly you may be avoiding less fruitful plants. But if you pick hybridization, you will not be saving the seeds. Another option that might seem the same to you, but it really isn't, starts with an H. The heirloom varieties. Now, some of you know that, oh, I saved my grandmother's quilt, it's an heirloom to our family. And that's essentially a way you can remember the difference. The heirloom varieties have been saved. The seeds have been saved from generation to generation. Now, how far along the heirloom seed is, well, you might have to do a little research into the company to see exactly how much they're pulling your leg as to how old that heirloom is. There are specifications that they need to meet. So if you're looking for something, I would go to more of a local farmer or one that has been completely certified as heirloom seeds. I'll show you a couple varieties here in my magazines. These are fun and actually very helpful. It's not necessarily a different type of seeds like heirlooms or hybridized, because either one can be put in this type. But if you'll notice, the seed is pink. Onions aren't pink. You can get a red variety, but the seed normally is not pink. Those seeds have been coated. It's coated, to be specific. And I want you to know that what they are coated with, they're clear on the back to let you know. It's a high-quality blend of all natural materials, and they consist of clay, lime, and perlite. There's an FDA-approved food coloring. This helps you see the seed. You can put it exactly where you need to in the ground to get the spacing more specific between seeds. And when we have a video on the actual planting, we'll show you how that makes a difference and why you should care about spacing depending on the type of seed you're planting. One last one I want to bring up is the organic. Organic can take on a lot of definitions. And so, to be careful with your organics, really look into the company who is selling you an organic type. One of the more name brand companies, Johnny Seed, Territorial, Burpee. You'll have to look into those companies and their definitions, and they're going to be different. So once you settle on something, if you're really trying to get the most organic, I would go for a more heirloom variety, and that they're very kind and gentle. They don't spray, and they don't treat the ground with any chemicals. That's what you're trying to avoid. All right, if you've checked your zone, and you know where you are in the temperate map, at least for the United States, then there's other parts of the seeds that you're going to have to look at. We're only at, what do I want to plant? And if you're going to just physically go and look at the plants, look at the seed packets, well then there's some things that you need to read on the back for a better understanding. They're going to tell you the days to germination. Right now, that is the most important thing you need to know when you're purchasing. Just after, what type of seed am I purchasing? Is it hybridized? Is it an heirloom? Is it organic? Or do they tell me nothing about it? The days to germination, besides, I like that variety, this takes 7 to 10 days. And what does germination mean? It doesn't mean that you get a fruit from that. It just means that the seed is no longer lying dormant in the ground, but it's actually sent up its first leaves. And that's all it means. Then you have to look at the next thing. Well, how many days until I harvest? And that means that you have fruit or vegetable that's ready to be picked and can be eaten. This variety of a brandywine tomato, one of my favorite, takes 90 to 120 days. You have some work to do. Each one of the things that you might want to plant, each has different days to germination, and they have different days to harvest. I like these casabella peppers. They're very sweet, and you can pick them at a variety of when they ripen. So even though there's a lot of colors, it just means how many days did I leave it on the plant? It changes color. Here I have 10 to 12 days of germination and 85 days to harvest. All of a sudden, just sticking some seeds in the ground didn't seem as easy as it did at first. But I want to walk you through a bunch of things, because you know what? It isn't that hard. I'd like to think that you can do it with a little bit of organization. I'm not a gardener. I didn't grow up on a farm. I grew up in a little residential house, and now I have another residential house that's not so little. But we have a big garden, and it takes a lot of work. But it started out as a homeschooling project. And now, oh, wait till you see it. It's a little big. But we'll start small, because I'd rather have you be successful and really begin to enjoy planting and enjoy harvesting than to get so overwhelmed and so far into debt of something that just turns into be a big mess in your side yard and you wish you'd never done it. All right. So today I've gone over a couple of different types of seeds. I've shown you the zone map. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And I'll leave you a little bit better copy that you can read, so you can see that down in the notes. One thing I'd like for you to think about is getting a notebook. You might have a notebook if you have kids. Take one of their notebooks they never use. It's true. They're there. Take that and label it for your garden. Sometimes we go and visit different places and we're looking at seeds or we're looking at plants. We've put our return address on it. So that's important to us. What we've done is each year we've put in what we planted, when we planted it, how many days to germination. And sometimes we've even gone ahead, if we've planted enough in the whole packet, we've gone ahead and put it right inside. Boy, my lights are very bright. I will try to adjust them at another date. Anyway, We put in what we planted and where we planted them. And then we give ourselves updates as to how well they did. Because if you don't know how well they did, well, you'll think you'll remember. And maybe you will, but my memory's not that great. And I'll say, what did we plant? Did we plant cabbage last year or 3 years ago? Oh, it did such a terrible job. But in reality, it did okay, and I just planted it last year. Go figure. So you'll want to have information right at the onset. What am I planning to plant? Get your ideas down. When you look at the seeds, pick out the variety that's going to set for your time zone, your zone of planting. And you're going to want to pick exactly how many days to germination, so you'll know when to begin to start your seeds, and how long it takes to harvest, and that will help you, as well as how much sun does it need, how much daylight hours. There's a lot of things to consider, so if you start with something that you can always refer back to, that's perfect. Now, I understand a lot of people don't like to use paper, and I am fine with that. What am I going to do, argue with you? I don't even know who you are. You can put all this information in an Excel sheet or something on your computer, on a handheld device. Wish I'd come up with an app for that, because then I'd be a millionaire. No, gardeners don't spend that much money. Anyway, it's important to keep the information in one spot where you can find it at any time. And then this seed time of the year, I can go back and I can see what we planted. As I'm going through page and page and page over all the years we've done this, I can even say, oh, look, that particular seed didn't work that well. I'm never buying that variety again. Or, none of the seeds, it didn't matter what variety, what plant I put in. That really wasn't a very good company to work with when you begin ordering seeds. All right, well, I'm going to move on, and we're going to look at a few of the catalogs and see what you can get. Don't worry, catalogs are free. In fact, you'll get so many of them, you wish you had them. All right, let's go. Here are the types of seeds we discussed. The heirloom, heirloom varieties, the hybridized varieties, organic, and those that aren't labeled as either of those. And you'll see the So Easy ones are coded. The other seeds are not coded at all. I'm sure hoping I can set some out so you can see these. So these are an onion seed, and all seeds are different sizes. So when we do a planting later on, you'll see the different seeds that we plant. I wanted to give you more of a clear view of what the inside of our notebook looks like. You'll see that we planted a certain amount of plants at a particular date. This is the company name of the seed. This is the actual name of the vegetable we planted. We have days to germination and days to harvest listed. When we empty a packet, sometimes we'll put the variety right here because we may put the bean seeds real close to each other. The plants will both climb, they'll look very similar, and we'll want to remember what we planted and where we planted it, even if we put it in the book. Sometimes having these visual guides helps at a particular time. I wanted to get right back to the zones and the different notebooks and the different magazines. So let me get that glare out of your way. Gurney's happen to have the planting zone map right here. Now you can look that up online. If you're looking at me, you can look up the hardiness zone for planting. I happen to be in zone 5, and that's for every plant. That's not just for vegetable or fruit gardening, it's for trees and bushes. So that zone doesn't change depending on the plant. That is exactly what it is for not all of North America, but for the United States specifically, and they do not have the zones for Hawaii or Alaska as they are not within the continental U.S. Now, I wanted to go through just a few of the magazines that we receive. We have normally by now about 10, but for some reason in January we don't have all of them. We have Gurney's. We don't often order from Gurney's. Often we'll get many from Ferry Morris, but not this year. Territorial, wonderful seed company. They have a lot of varieties as well as heirloom. And hybridized, you have to watch for that. Sometimes they have more of a symbol that tells you whether or not it's hybridized or whether it's organic. So be careful to note what you're looking for and what they've provided you for notes. As you can see, I've just opened up to carrots, and look at the variety of carrots. It can seem overwhelming, but that's why we start in January. It gives us some cold weather, nice reading time to think about, and then order the vegetables or the fruit that you'd like. And once you go through them, don't go crazy. I don't know how I could ever tell you anymore. Just do not go overboard by getting 50 and 100 different types of seeds. The likelihood is that the seeds will end up expiring. They don't last forever, or they may get damaged, or sadly enough, they might get wet. They might get too hot if you don't store them in a cool and dry place. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but if you'll note, even in the back, you'll be truly amazed at the flowering plants. At the very end of most of the catalogs, they'll give you some hints on things that are going to help you with your plants. But we'll talk about those when we're closer to planting. Here's one variety of a catalog called Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds, and it may be Baker Creek. Specifically, these are heirloom varieties. And they tell you a little bit about the heirloom fair. It's national. There's a World's Heirloom Fair. The best-selling bean. The beauty of this is they'll show you the bean. That's nice, but they won't show you the bean inside all the time. So this is better. You'll have an understanding of what does that bean really look like. Will I be eating the pod? Not always. Some are inedible, and some are very edible. Some you only eat the seeds. Here's a beautiful chart. Look at that. So it depends on the company and the types of seeds that they sell. I'd like for you to note, though, this particular, when it's become heirloom, you'll see irregularities in the fruit and the vegetables. And that is what fruit and vegetable normally looks like when they haven't been changed to look a certain way, to bring on all the fruit in a certain time period. So you'll get what maybe somebody would call ugly fruit or just amazing fruit. All right, so don't be surprised when the heirloom varieties aren't the picture perfect ones, though these I think are picture perfect. All right, and lastly, just quickly, though this is not a vegetable catalog, these are for trees and fruits. In our area, the family farm and nursery is called Schlabach's, and they have all varieties of fruiting trees, fruiting bushes, large trees. Again, very nice. Just a glimpse of the different tree fruits in America, where they were more locally set in the earlier years before there was so much travel and trade. Always in order form, should be about midsection, sometimes in the very back of the catalog. I'd like to talk to you just a minute about storing your seeds. Now, once you begin to buy seeds, where are you going to put them? Well, as you can see, we're not a high-scale setup here, and we just use the bottom ends or the top ends of cereal boxes. The larger varieties will hold the width of most seed packets. And then we've just picked a box that will hold 3 across. Now you can of course have a bigger box. The importance of this is that we keep our seeds in one place, then we can move the box around, keeping it in a cool, dark spot, and especially dry. Once the seeds have been in contact with moisture or humidity, they'll begin to sprout, and then they are useless unless you put them directly into the ground and plant them all. Good luck with that. Anyway, a lot of folks like to save different types of seeds as well. You can save wild varieties, the milkweed. Best thing to do is if you're saving your own, make sure that you date that. So when we begin to harvest our plants and then we save the seeds, you'll want to clearly label it. We'll want to know the year also, so we can always use the oldest ones first And that will make sure that our seeds, for the most part, don't get wasted because they become too old. So I hope that helps. I hope I've given you some good places to start. All the gardening that you'll need to do this year starts right in the comfort of your living room. So get ready. In the next video, we'll talk about containers, the right place to plant, the different soils you may need, the different tools you need. But please, don't get overwhelmed. Nothing has to be expensive. We're just starting out, probably. So, take a good deep breath. Go grab your notebook. Do a quick internet search of seed catalogs. You'll want to look for Gurney, Johnny Seed, Territorial. The list will go on. And all you have to do is click on their links to get your free catalogs. They'll come very quickly. And then you can start really ordering too many seeds. See you later.